Hello and welcome to GFD North podcast. My name is Ryan Woodhouse and this is episode 8. Today we'll be interviewing Marina Ortega, and Marina will be giving a presentation on the Sunday the 7th of August this year. So head on over to gfdnorth.uk, scroll down and you can grab a link to Marina's work. You can also head over to the podcast section where we have our interviews with our previous guests, and you can also go to the sign up section to get notified of when tickets will be available to the public. To give a quick background and intro to Marina, Marina is a freelance concept artist and illustrator originally from Madrid, now living in Manchester. Her background is in digital illustration and she has a degree from the Universidad Complutense de Madrid, as well as additional courses at Academia C10, Altineo, CGMA and Learn Squared. She began her career working on a variety of concept art and illustration commissions for indie games, fantasy book covers, magazines and other projects. Her studio's experience spans several companies, but to name a few, we have Ill Animation Studios Limited, Games Workshop, Revolution Software, Wizards of the Coast and Axis Studios and many more. But today we're going to be going over Marina's freelance work for Halo and Magic the Gathering during her time with Axis Studios, also Beneath the Steel Sky with Revolution Software. We'll also be going over her advice to people breaking in, and so without further ado, can I please welcome Marina Ortega to the podcast. Marina, how are you doing?
Well, thank you. That's impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So I'm really looking forward to going over. Yeah, great to meet you too. So I'm really looking forward to going over your portfolio here. And I know you've got a lot of variety of designs and projects going on. So I'm really looking forward to diving into these and find out how you approach them. So I was just thinking maybe we could start out with the Halo Infinite work that you did with Axis Studios, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my first task with Axis. It wasn't actually the tank itself, so I didn't design the vehicle itself. It was just the damage, all the special effects and the rubble around. Actually, it was my only task in that project. I think I arrived a bit late to that, but it was my first task, so I think they were a bit testing me, how I work, and it was really fun because it was like a fun task to destroy the design of other artists and don't have to think about really functional design and just think about what happened with this tank. I don't know what kind of artillery received, or what kind of damage, what is the side it was attacked from, things like that. So it was really fun.
Yeah, not bad. It's not a bad intro to the studio. Really good artist, I guess. It's a really fun design. So that was one of your first projects. I know you did quite a lot of work on Magic the Gathering as well. And I saw this incense burn, and obviously I've watched the trailer as well. So, and this is another thing that I picked up on. Your work seems to have quite a different variety. So, do you have a particular favorite genre you like to work in? Like, do you prefer sci-fi, or do you prefer this? Or
not really. I like changing the. I think I work more on sci-fi and modern things than pure fantasy. But I don't know. I just like original things. If a project is good and has some personality, I really like it. I don't know, I like games like Mass Effect and Red Dead Redemption and Horizon Zero Dawn, also smaller games like Disco Elysium. So I have a variety of taste.
Yeah. I think that's probably important as well for a designer to be interested in a wide range of influences, because it only makes you stronger, right? It only makes you a better designer, I think, in the long run.
Yeah, and I like to combine things from unexpected sources. For example, one thing I really love about Final Fantasy, for example, is that it's real. It's like very nowadays, very modern design. It's set in a world that is very relatable, but suddenly you have fantasy things, then suddenly you have some sci-fi things, and they put them together in the way that, okay, you believe it. So I think it's one of the things I like. Of course, I don't get to mix that much in client work, But I think in regards of influences to me, they are very mixed in that sense.
Yeah, I was reading one of your interviews elsewhere online, and you actually Final Fantasy was one of your first influences in one of the games that you played when you were quite young. Is that right?
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I remember playing the Final Fantasy VIII and saying, "Oh, somebody is doing this somewhere. I want to work in this." So since then, I've been wanted to do this, and I think that's why it's one of my dearest influences, and sometimes I go back to it. But of course, I've been having lots and lots more with the years. And
yeah. I think those games, those early experiences, really do end up impacting you, especially when you're younger. I was a massive Warhammer fan and Warhammer 40k, and I still remember those Adrian Smith artworks from when I was younger. And they do influence you a lot. So yeah, it's cool to hear. So going back to this, so I actually read in the title that you worked with Mark Molnar, and I've heard of Mark Molnar before. So how was it working with Mark, and what was your kind of your general approach to the project?
Yeah, well, these projects are for Magic, but they were through Axis, and I've been working with Mark in a lot of projects with Axis, and it's really great to work with him because he's a very good art director. He's very good at giving feedback, very clear. It's like his feedback is always on point, and it's not needing you all the time in meetings or over discussing things or anything. It's just very efficient communication. So each time I have a project with Axis and I see him as art director, I think it's gonna be not easy, but it's gonna work. Well,
I think it's always really good when you have an art director who is also a very strong artist who's done the job as well.
Yes.
I always find that those art directors who have real work experience and many years of work experience are always the best to work with. They understand exactly what you need to do for clear feedback and all those kind of things. So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, because they understand very well even your sketches or anything that is rough. And a good thing is it's not only words he provides with visual feedback and notes about it. So you notice he's an artist and he's quite on point with it. So yeah, I think it's really useful if they understand art.
Yeah, that's great. And so I can see as well you've done like a different variety of props. So where would you go for your inspiration for these different things? Were you provided references, or were you kind of just like left to your own reign? Like you can just go off and do research of, like you say, like Gothic. I assume these are like based on like Gothic candelabras or something, right?
Yes. With the projects on Magic, usually we have an extra reference that is illustration from the cards and designs from wizards. So there is a good specific base there to pull from, and then usually we are given real world references too. But yes, usually I will search a bit more mine just to see if I can have any extra idea that is maybe something they didn't think about, or in this project obviously more a lot of medieval Gothic references.
And with these as well, were you starting out with a 3D blockout, or were you just going straight into 2D? I mean, these all look 2D, right?
It had a 3D base. So
3D base.
I use a lot of 3D code.
Oh yeah.
So I did a series of different banners with a bit of different shape. Again, it was based in a card, so the variations weren't too crazy. But for example, the design in the banner, the design with the werewolf. It was in the second image in the banner. The incense banner. For example, 3D helped me a lot to fix that 2D design, the transformation design to the spheric shape. So it was very roughly scoped in 3D code, but then I oversketched it, and I always overpaint because my 3D bases are bases and have a lot of to fix.
Yeah, yeah. And I find as well with 3D code, you can get those. The texturing is actually quite nice. I feel like you can get some like good texturing as well straight out with 3D code without having to go into Substance Painter or these other programs.
Yeah. Or you can just choose a basic shader there and then overpaint, but you have already the base. It's a bit of like photobasm.
That's it. And so is Kaldheim, I can see there's differences in the title here. So we've got Midnight Hunt and Kaldheim. So so for Kaldheim, can you just explain like how is that different from the Midnight Hunt? So is Kaldheim completely separate in the universe, or?
Yeah, it was another realm, so it was a different trailer. These ones, for example, weren't based in anything. It was just props for the Vikings, for filler characters around fighting, so they could have some references of different props, but they didn't need any orthographic views or anything because it wasn't. They weren't like hero props. They were just props to fill the scene.
Okay.
For example, for the sword and for the axes, the main sword, not this one, the Sword of the Realms, I think
These
it
ones?
was. Yeah. For that, we needed more like the views and the EFX sample, call out for the details, sometimes call out for the materials.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's really interesting. I can see those Norse or Viking influences as well in there. I actually just came back from York the other day and got the Viking.
Yes.
Yeah, the Viking Museum. So I learned all about some of these patterns. I think yelling is one of them, and there's quite a few. There's like 7 or 8 of these patterns, and they all have different names. So that's actually quite interesting to research if people are interested. There's many different variations of this knotwork and all of this stuff, and it's it's over 1,000 years old. It's so cool. Yeah. So.
Well, also there is a part that is not based in real Vikings. It's like the topic of they didn't use horns. Yeah, okay, we know they didn't have horns on the helmets, but they are cool, and they are accepted. So we feel it like Viking-like already.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I actually recommend anyone to go to York and go to Jorvik Museum. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, really cool effects. Yeah, I can see the effects call out here with the sword glowing and everything, and there's a lot of detail. So she's still working under like Mark Molnar, and I can see that there. It's interesting. Yeah, so all of these I can see have got different effects. So I've got like a beard axe with that Viking pattern work as well, Viking inspired pattern work. And so how long were you on this project for?
I don't remember because it was time ago. Usually I go from 3 or 4 weeks to 6, 7 weeks. For me, I usually do several props, and then I don't remember the total length of the project for them.
Okay.
Because I was only hired to do like several props. But of course the project is way longer.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. Okay. All right, so now we can see we've got some artifact for Zendikar Rising.
Yeah, this took longer. Because there was a lot of discussion about how it opened, the size, the orb inside, the effects of it. It was one of those that changed a lot along the way.
Yeah, you can see here as well we've got call-outs and like carvings and patterns and things. And actually this is starting to go a little bit away from the typical what you would expect of Viking mythology. And it's going more into it almost looks like Aztec or Mayan.
This one was Zendikar.
Yeah, so it's a completely different race, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is really cool. Yeah. So going into different things like the effects and how this thing opens as well. So this is really useful for the animation too. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Oh, I know we're going to come back to those later on. I was going to shoot back to these at the end. So I think maybe we can look at some of the Beyond the Steel Sky work. I first saw this, was absolutely blown away. There's so many like different kinds of like architecture and all sorts. It feels like you threw just absolutely everything you had at this, and yeah, I really liked it. And I checked out the gameplay as well on YouTube, and it's got a really interesting style to the game. It's almost like everything's got like a line work feel to it, or like cell shading type of feel.
It's like a comic.
Yeah, like a comic book. Yeah, I thought it was really cool how they've done that. It's a bit like Borderlands if you've ever played that. And, yeah, exactly. And
Telltale.
Exactly. Yeah, really cool. So with this, so what kind of like architecture and stuff were you looking at? I mean, some of this stuff I kind of recognize, but was a lot of it like just like made up for the universe, or were there some like key architects that you were looking at for your inspiration?
Yeah, after talking before about the clash of influences and looking at this piece, I think I really enjoy designing this city, not just this shot, because I have buildings designed for this city apart. It was great because this game is a sequel of a graphic adventure from I think it was the 90s. It was called Beneath a Steel Sky, and this game is Beyond a Steel Sky. So the city had already a history behind. The thing is, it's a futuristic city that is kind of the opposite of what most of sci-fi films do.
Yeah.
Where there is a massive city with different levels, and the rich people are on top. And at the bottom there are overcrowded favelas of the poorest. This is the opposite. The top are like brutalistic, rusty buildings where the workers are working all day, and it's very polluted.
So it's inverted. So the top part's the pollution, then you got like the nice green trees and rivers.
Exactly. You go down, and then it becomes more like middle class. Retro Art Deco, then it becomes more modern, more luxurious, and then it becomes like sci-fi, very loose, where just 10% of the people get to live there. So because the citizens have like points they earn around working or doing several things, and they can aspire to live down in the down levels.
That's interesting.
So yeah, it's the opposite, and it was very challenging because there are tons of styles of architecture that you need to fit through the levels.
Yeah. And actually, sorry, go on.
And different kind of lightings, and that was very challenging because it was supposed the top it was supposed to be very polluted and dark, and then the bottom very loose, very bright, and usually it's the opposite. So we did more with the colors than with the light, because
yeah. And I was just about to say, I saw some of these sketches, and I guess this is the idea of having this polluted part on the top, and then something a bit more grand and like a completely different shape language on the bottom. So you can see on this sketch, you've got the factories way up top. Then you've got maybe some Art Deco influence, and towards the bottom it's getting more futuristic and organic as well in shape, which I think is really interesting. So you can see all that different styles all in a single building. And I'm guessing you went through a lot of different variations and iterations on this thing.
Yes, the thing. Those were to create the city itself. So we had several towers that you can mix and match and adapt, and put this part of the level and put it over the other and create the city itself in the game. So it was very challenging but very fun to get to combine everything.
Yeah, I love this I love this idea of combining like a Zaha Hadid with a super industrial, grimy, like chimney type of thing on the top. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's the only thing we have really references from the first game, because in the first game you only see, or mostly see, that part of the city and a bit of the middle levels. But yeah, it was one of those pixels game that now we had to develop in a modern game. So it was really cool.
Yeah. And in each one of these buildings, I'm guessing there were specific sectors or areas that had to be designed for the player to explore. Because I mean, I can see there's obviously there's a lot of variation in the kinds of structures. So we've kind of got these rounded shapes in the bottom here, and on the previous one we have this kind of structure. So was each megastructure designed to serve a specific purpose, or was it again interesting to explore?
It was just to give ideas and to generate the city itself. So at the end they could some towers that don't have a top level, for example, or some towers use the mid level to another and things like that. So like a bit of kit pass. That's why I tried to design each level separated. Of course, ideally they fit better this way, but yeah, it was just to build the city, because the rest of the areas are designed very specifically for the gameplay, because it's like an adventure. So it's the thing, you use this object to get this point to combine with this other thing. So it was very specific in the designs for the sceneries.
Yeah. Actually, I remember watching a bit of the gameplay, and I saw the main character like walk up to a gangang bird, and the gangang birds have like sort of kind of what it is they do in the game, but they have things on them which you can take. I thought it was very interesting. But anyway, a bit of a random off thing, but no, I mean, you have really interesting designs, and I can see that you went to like a lot of different inspirations. There's tons of notes. And was it the same process with these then? Were you starting off with like 3D coat bases, then going 2D over the top? Because a lot of these just like pure 2D sketches.
It was more 2D.
Yeah.
Because it was such amount of architectures and things I could do. So I started just sketching things I like from different architectures. Then I started completing them by imagination, and then combining them on Photoshop and see how they all fit. And then when I created a very rough combinations of different buildings, I started to refine. And then after that, I would build some blockouts. But I think it was for that I was playing more with VR.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, just to see. I did several towers, very basic, and to see how they fit close to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part it was very 2D, and it was very refreshing actually, because I don't know. It reminded me more when I was starting long time ago, because now we use more 3D and more accurate things and more realistic things. And that project was very fun because it was more like sketching and playing with the parts and creating something totally new.
Yeah. So these days you actually focus more on 3D, would you say, than the 2D workflow?
No, but I it's both really. But I use it a lot in the starting phases. I use it. It's more rare that I skip the 3D part, or that I go a lot into detail without a 3D base. Those sketches like line art for the towers is the thing I don't do that much without 3D anymore.
Yeah. I can imagine as well with 3D it does make some of the more complex radial structures really quick. If you want to repeat something in a circular way in perspective, it can actually be quite tricky to get that correct.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be hard. But no, it's really cool to see, and I'm exactly the same with my workflow as well. I started out being more 2D focused and then switched more and more to 3D. And that just generally seems where the industry is going these days now.
Yeah, of course, it's very useful, especially if you need different views of an object and you are applying feedback and changing the audience all the time. It's not useful usually to go all the time drawing in 2D. But for the sketch phase, it's quite fun.
Yeah, this is it. I still feel that even though things are getting more and more 3D, I still feel that 2D sketching can be quite quick when you just want to really go through like a lot of different forms and ideas in a loose, quick way. I do still feel like it is a little bit faster in some respects.
Yeah, this is actually an example because if you see in the corner, I did some sketches in VR. In the
on the top corner here,
that was tilt brush, and it was like quick sketches in VR, very rough. But then all the details and all the things that give storytelling and give some personality to the place is faster, just sketching. And in this project, that was great to do because they didn't need a photorealistic finish. So I didn't need to build any more final 3D that I need to give texture or have a better render.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, tilt brush in VR is something that personally I have played around with a little bit, but I haven't fully implemented into my workflow. So seeing this, I might try and do a bit more stuff in VR. But for architecture, using the VR tools, I don't know. I wasn't 100% convinced. Maybe for props or something, but when I needed to, like, say, create a city really quickly, I still found just 3D software alone was a little bit faster.
Yeah. It's usually faster, and I can use VR for a while, but after a couple of hours or 3 hours, I feel quite tired in the eyes. So
but I feel like the strength of VR. I mean, I know it's obvious, but the strength of VR is for doing stuff like this. You need to create like a cockpit, or a seating thing, and you just want to quickly jump into what it would be like to be the player sat in the cockpit or sat in the seat. I feel like it's probably really strong for that kind of stuff, and obviously creatures and all those kind of things. But
what I remember now that why I use VR that time is because I saw a video on YouTube from Sparth, I think, using tilt brush and doing like a platform with a rocket launcher or something like that. And I really like how he sketched just the landscape with the green plains and the road with another plane doing like, and I don't know, it was fun. So I just wanted to. Also, I just recently bought the VR by then, so I was trying to try everything.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, usually you use more for objects or creatures or very organic landscapes.
Yeah, that's it. I totally agree. It's just something I have actually. Sadly, I bought one and it's sat under my desk, and I've played with it like 2 or 3 times, and then that's it. So I haven't really used it.
It's not my most used tool, but sometimes it's very fun. Yes. For this one, it was quite useful too. The gravity, that was gravity sketch to develop that curved shapes of the roofs.
Yeah, for these, I mean, the roofs they've got on the screen right now, right? These sail roofs.
That's it.
Yeah, and actually, just to go into this, I've noticed there's actually quite a lot of variety in the design languages. So as the project was developing, were you and the team coming up with, okay, we want this area to have this kind of sail language with like wood and the grass, and then have like a completely different language for another. So were there like specific design styles for each areas of the game then?
It depends on the area of the city it was happening. So this was closer to the bottom part of the city. It's actually an aspiration platform. From there, there was a party where the citizens could check the bottom area of the city, and the whole thing was like to aspire to be a better citizen to get there. So the style matched with the luxurious bottom part of the city, and was very party-like. So they didn't specify any material itself, but I just used what I thought it fit that vibe, the organic, futuristic, luxurious part of the city. So yeah. Also, it depends on what I know it was happening in the game. If it is a darker part of the history, or where there is a fight with an enemy or anything like that, it would be more dark and more like aggressive. This place was a party, so
and then just to give an example of that darker place, are we talking like this kind of place? Would this be more of a darker part of the city because it's quite grimy, or?
Yeah, that's because that's outside the city. So the style is like things that the people from inside the city build outside, but it's like abandoned and part of the desert. The outside of the city is a massive desert called the Gap, and it's based on Australia, I think.
Okay.
So it's like they try to build some thing that is very like them part, like very welcoming, but it was abandoned and it's not working anymore. It's very old, so it has echoes from the city, but it's reclaimed by the desert, really.
Yeah. And so the people who lived on the outside of the city, they were kind of like these like scavenger types, or
Yeah.
You see there's tons and tons of prop call outs and all sorts of stuff just to help the team describe what that looks like. And so for every one of these mood pieces, it's made up of all these like buildings and substructures and interiors and handheld devices. So it looks like an absolute ton of work. These are really cool as well.
Yeah. It was very design oriented more than getting something hyper realistic. It was. It's an adventure game, so they needed to get all the details of the object and the position of the things, because it's about how the player finds the objects and how they use them around the place. So
Actually,
they are not decoration.
I was just going to say, a lot of this, it reminds me, I don't know if you've got it, but the Fallout, the game Fallout, they've got a huge art of book, and they put everything in it, all the development work and everything, and it's absolutely amazing. If you love concept art like this, and you like seeing all the development work,
Fallout is very good. I love it.
Yeah, it's so awesome if you love seeing this kind of stuff, because it's full.
And I like when books are like that. I think it was the Dragon Age one. It was very good too in that sense. They had a lot of like real concept work, not just beautiful concept work, but the real design.
Yeah, that's it. It's actually the Fallout 4 art of book. I just quickly turned it on and had a look. Yeah, it's a Fallout 4 art of book that I've got. So super good.
It's massive.
Yeah, the massive one. Yeah. So really cool if you like seeing that kind of stuff. Because I mean, sadly, art of books, they tend to be filled with like a lot of the marketing art and polished pieces, and not as many of the sketches and production work, which I think is a shame, really. But that's one of those books that does showcase it very well. But anyway,
because that's why then artists usually don't post, or especially newbies in the industry. They try to do beautiful things that they seen on ArtStation, but at the end, in the production, they use a lot of these views and these details.
Yeah, this is it, and it's like I mean, obviously, everyone looking at this who's getting started, you can see just how many call-outs and things are needed, for a game. It's just tons, and so it's cool to see as well. Like you tackled some vehicle designs. I didn't remember seeing these beforehand. So is this one of the vehicles for going outside of the wall then?
Yes, it's a transport guy that brings things to the city.
Yeah, and this has got its own design language in it. And there's a reason why it has to be armored. Does this thing come under attack?
Sorry?
Does this thing come under attack? Is there like bandits or something that try to attack these vehicles?
No, but it's just a very, very old truck that actually the thing is broken. So you have to help the guy to fix the battery of the truck to get inside the city. So it's very run down, but it was an attack. And you use it to sneak inside the city at the end.
Yeah, cool. We can see the cockpit sketches there, the driver's cabin, and you can see all sorts of little details. That little stove as well, to cook some beans on or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
I think we didn't use it at the end, the interior, but I don't know. It was just so fun to think how. It's what I like is to think about how this guy lives for days and days in the desert there, and it fits his personality and things like that.
Yeah, like I think little storytelling elements. Like you can see like a little calendar. He's got a couple of photos, and he's got a drink on the side. And I think all those little things had nice story elements. And old Sydney Opera souvenir as well to represent, I guess, the Australian influence of the desert. Yeah, that's really interesting. Oh, there is a Gangang bird.
The Gangang.
So that was really odd design. Yeah, I saw the gameplay footage, like a huge crowd, flock of these or whatever it is, just following the player around. Are these things good? Are they good or evil in the game? I can't remember.
They're nasty. Just nasty.
Yeah.
No, not bad, but just nasty. And you use them for things, but I think there is a real bird called Gangang, but it's not like that. It's sadly, of course.
Yeah. It's a real thing. So I can see again, you're tackling loads of different props for the project as well. So this droid design, and so now we're moving further into the city because the designs are actually getting a lot sleeker. So this will be a design that will be inside the city, like the upper class area or something.
Yeah, well, I think it was in more places, but yeah, it's more a functional robot that is inside the city too. So the previous one, it was just working outside. That's why it was more rusty and things. And this is more a surveillance that is around the city. So
you can see as well the complete total polar opposite in terms of design languages. I mean, your references this really polished, clean-looking webcam for your inspiration. It just gives it a completely different design language and style to the stuff that goes on outside of the city, which is all junkyard and stuff, scrappy type of references and things like that.
Yeah, it's worth to mention too that for the mechs, I also had the help of initial ideas from Dave Gibbons. You know, the comic artist.
David Gibbons. I think I remember hearing about his name was brought up maybe during one of the game trailers. Was he the original comic book artist who came up with this?
Yeah, it's because he participated in the first game.
Yeah.
Dave Gibbons is the what was it? It doesn't come the name now. The Watchmen comic book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's. I didn't remember the name right now, but yeah. So yeah, he helped a lot with the rough sketches sometimes for ideas. So and I developed the idea further, and sometimes it changed a lot at the end. Just to mention it.
Yeah, cool. I can just obviously see the DARPA. This is like a big dog reference, like the DARPA big dog robot. It feels quite similar to that as the maybe the base. It's like a much larger version. You see the step ladders and the weapons as well going on. I actually remember seeing this guy in some gameplay footage, walking around. So, yeah. Okay, that's awesome. So we've gone through quite a bit of that. Oh, actually, there's one thing as well I just wanted to touch on was this area. This area caught my eye because this was totally different from the city and everything else. So I'm just curious. So what area was this in the game?
That was more for the final part, and is more. It's not really for humans. It's more like digital. YA. It's called in English.
Artificial intelligence, like AI.
Yes, AI. That's it. So it's created for that. It's not for humans. That's why it doesn't have any useful shape for human inhabitants or anything. And it's kind of open and very tall, and it's surveilling over the whole city.
And you could quite very easily fall off the edge here. So
exactly.
Maybe you need some AI barriers or something to go across.
Yeah, it's like kind of digital place.
Really cool. Really cool to see different shape exploration and everything else. Yeah. It'd be actually really nice just to see a normal C building. You can just knock in a few windows in here and have this as like a clean version of a Chrysler building or something like that. Yeah, really nice design.
Yeah, it's more like for the avatars or that are ruling the city that you discover they are not really people. So
Oh, that's interesting. So there's a bit of a twist. So the people that are in the city are not aware that they're avatars, and then they become aware by
exactly.
coming to this place. No, that's cool. I didn't
It's a
realize.
council that they think they are people, but they are not people, and they are just over the city, over the clouds, over everything. And it's
Oh, that's
kind of
interesting.
the
Okay.
intention was to be like very godlike and artificial like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So they slowly become aware that the world they're living in isn't real. It's a bit like Matrix.
Yeah.
A bit like
Yeah,
Matrix.
yeah. It's very like that. It's
Yeah,
very
Hopefully not like the new Matrix.
cyberpunk in that.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Hopefully not like the new Matrix, which is not super awesome. But yeah. Anyway, I won't get into that. It's a bit of a side tangent. But anyway, yeah. And so I can see this as well. So again, this is a completely different part of compared to the rest of the game. So a creeper entrance. So is this still within this AI or this avatar world then?
Well, it's actually it's just a backside. It's not for people. It's for mechs to come and go. So you remember the big dog-like mech from before?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were
This guy.
very
Yeah.
very aggressive. So the character has to sneak around there without being discovered by those things going around. So that's why it's darker and more prone to
So
sneaking.
I think, yeah. So thinking about using lighting to help the gameplay, and creating like gameplay moments and creating areas of shadow. So
Yeah, and places to hide, places to make it more sinister and more claustrophobic.
yeah, that's really cool. All right, that's awesome. I feel like actually there's one last design as well, and I thought this was particularly interesting. So what is this structure and what is it used for?
Yeah, it's a hub that is right outside the city. Is the central area of that part you saw before, and it's a hub where you can purchase objects that are really like I don't remember. It was like 3D printed or something very weird in those dispensers, and also you have a machine dispenser with the characteristic drink of the game that comes from there that is quite creepy. It's again, it's like they try to make it like a happy welcoming game park, but then it turns out that just very creepy and very
I don't know if I would want to drink anything from this
yeah
machine. I don't know, but it looks there. Yeah, it's quite scary. No way.
They are around the spankers. Yeah. I think you can buy them later. So
yeah, and I think just an important point as well is with every piece that we've gone through so far, there's at least a few pages of pure just prop call-outs showing how things work. And again, I think it's very important just for the new people breaking in that it isn't all your sexy kind of keyframes and marketing out that's super polished.
yeah, exactly.
And there is all this stuff that that needs to be designed and thought through because if it isn't, it's really just up to the 3D modelers, and 3D modelers can't do everything, right? So. And,
yeah, especially if they are objects the player is gonna use, they need more detail. You cannot do just a smooth piece and the beautiful concept and leave it there. You need to design the object, how it works, how it's interactive.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, I thought when I saw it was got like a really interesting form language, and it just really caught my eye. This design in particular, I thought it was really cool. Okay, all right. I think we've gone through like quite a bit of Beyond Steel Sky stuff, and another project I just wanted to touch on was the forest. And I saw this, and I really liked the kind of the minimalism of it, and it's also like a bit of a horror IP. So I was just hoping maybe you could just give a quick explanation of what this IP or this game was about. And
yeah, it's a survival horror game. It was an indie game, but it got a lot of people. But the thing it is started with you coming in a plane crash in a desert island, very jungle like Lost.
Oh yeah.
In a style, but then your son is missing. You have to find him, and there are cannibals in the island, so you need to build camps, build things, and get resources, get stronger. So it's a horror survival, but then it has a story, and the story leads you to through some caves. You discover a lab, and then you know more of what happened to the island.
That's interesting. And so
yeah, that's another mixed project that is it's in the jungle all the time, very horror like, and then my part was mostly designing that final part of the game that was the more sci-fi building.
Got it. So the player makes the way through the jungle. You've already built the stuff to survive, and then you finally make it into this futuristic house or structure somewhere on the island, and you're working your way through it. I'm just curious, like, what are these like very alien-looking things?
That's they were using an obelisk to. There is a corporation that discovered a kind of alien unknown obelisk in the island and is using it to supposedly cure kids with terminal illnesses, but really they were trying to discover how to resuscitate kids, and for resuscitating kids they needed to sacrifice others. It's a very creepy thing. You start discovering very weird activities that they were doing and experimenting there. And you start to, because apart from the cannibals in the island, you meet a lot of mutants. So the mutants came from,
because as if things weren't hard enough, right?
Exactly. Cannibals weren't enough. So finding your kid comes related to this, and it's the kind of history that has different endings depending on what you choose, but they are all kind of bad. Like you cannot end happy.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. And it's another game that has different mood depending on the level, because you discover the facilities through some caves, and it's very dark, very industrial, like maintenance corridors, and then you get through some more scientific labs, and at the end is the typical sci-fi, more sleek control rooms.
Yeah, looks amazing. I mean, sadly, I haven't actually had a chance to play through this one yet, but it does sound really interesting. Yeah, God, that's absolutely terrifying.
No, that's discarded.
I guess this is the failed experiment or something, or who knows what's going on here. I mean,
yeah, I think it's not visible, but on the floor, I remember to put the percentage of human genes that they achieve before discarding the thing. So yeah. Very creepy. It was a very creepy game.
Oh my god! I can see the black. There's like small black cards as well with each mess. Does that represent anything in particular, or?
Yeah. No. It's just to add creepy stuff.
Creepy vibes.
Yeah. This was more. This game, they require more mood pieces more than detail. So at the end, I don't think they build the room exactly like this, but they took inspiration from it to build several rooms in that style.
Yeah. Actually, do you know, this actually reminds me of a game that I used to play called Fear. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was basically
yeah.
Fear.
Yeah, I didn't play it, but
it just with this idea of like going through these like high tech facilities, and every now and again you'd have a flashback, and you would be in this like absolute horrific scenario where the room would fill with blood or whatever. I'd actually recommend people to check that out on YouTube. Just go watch some of the horror scenes from this old PC shooter game called Fear. It was really cool back in the day. I remember that.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Going back to this, so I can see. Oh man, super
The
gross.
mutants.
These like dead mutants and things.
Yeah, because you discover they come from the lab. Yes, these were the lower levels. So if they were more maintenance, more industrial, as you said, and the previous was the lab part.
Yeah.
So.
I can see this guy's on a great time. I don't know. Yeah, it's really creepy. Okay, awesome. Okay, all right. So I think we're going over quite a bit of stuff here. So we're going over the forest. I don't think we touched on influence at all. So let's maybe just have a quick look at maybe influence as well. So, so what was this created for? So we got was this done for another game project or?
Yeah, it's another small project. They are still developing it. I think I have a bit more work on this, but I couldn't publish it yet because I remember I did that 4 years ago, and then last year they were still developing things. So I have more work that I couldn't publish.
It's interesting. So what's going on here then? Have we got some kind of like mining system that's feeding fuel to this reactor, or?
It was more like a mood piece. It's not. It wasn't a particular place, but it's the kind of game you need to mine for resources and. I think you use real money. It was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, and the topic was all the time around the asteroids and the mining.
Yeah. So
and the use of the planets. So you don't really get to play inside the planet, but you play with the resources and manage the spaceships and.
Okay, I know this was 4 years ago. So was this using crypto, or was this before the crypto craze came out? Because there's a lot of games now which run on like NFTs and take advantage of.
I'm very short memory. I don't remember if by then they were using the same.
Yeah.
It's open. They describe it now like an open economy space strategy MMO. I don't know if it changed a lot from the beginning or not.
Yeah. I was just curious, that's all, because I know a lot of games, like I say, they are making money off of off cryptocurrency, and there's a few games which have just essentially created their own currency within the game world, which I think is really interesting. There's one that's just come out. I've completely forgotten the name. I think Star Atlas runs on that. But anyway, so back to you were tasked as well with creating some spaceships for influence.
Yeah, some of them. But it wasn't. Very demanding, like technical. It needs to be very realistic. I know in the event we have a lot of people from Cloud Imperium, so it's nothing that complex. It was more aesthetically.
So the focus was more just on just the overall look rather than going in and figuring out.
Yeah, especially by then. Especially by then, that was more like about selling the style of the game and it wasn't going to be very high poly, so.
So you also had like the poly count as well to keep in mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't a project in the line of the Cloud Imperium ones or anything like that.
Okay, that's interesting.
I tried to keep the textures a bit realistic, but the shapes not very, very complex or with a lot of things.
Yeah. I actually listened to a talk recently by Tor Frick and his studio Neon Giant. They actually talk exactly about that, how to keep assets and meshes, low resolution while fitting a lot of detail on there without causing a lot of slowdown for the game engine. I think that's a really interesting talk if you are interested in that kind of thing. So that's Tor Frick did a really great talk on exactly that. Just listened to that recently. But yeah, so that's really cool. I can see as well you did some keyframe paintings as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is more the work that we say is not all the work. It was just for selling the game and the mood of the of the things. So that's why I didn't go into detail of like in the other kind of concepts.
Yeah.
This was more about the colors and the style and selling the size of the asteroids and
yeah. So less focus on design and more just on more concept art, just on the overall look and feel of the game and the IP.
Exactly.
So that's really awesome. The Inktober sketching. So
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. So are these sketches? Is this something that you still do today, or do you still start this way for some of your client work? Like, so what are these? What I mean, I consider for Inktober, but is this something that you still do now then, or?
No, it was the only Inktober that I really finished on time. You know about Inktober?
Yeah, Inktober.
Yeah, well, during October you need to do a sketch every day. Hopefully in ink, but some people do it digitally or anything. The thing is to sketch every day, and I never finished it before because I tried and I always it's like, oh, I need out of time. I'm tired after work. I cannot think of anything great every day.
Yeah.
But this year was very fun for me because I decided to do just virtual plein airs.
Oh yeah, the virtual plein air group. Is on the one on Facebook,
yeah, there is a group about it, and I just use the Map Crunch. It's a website called Map Crunch, and every day selects a random view from Google Maps. So I just use that, and every day I did a virtual plein air with ink and markers, and I really enjoy it. And it took me time and depends on which one more or less, but it was fun because I didn't need after work and after the whole day thinking about design and being great. I didn't have the pressure to design something cool. It's just something I had in front of me, and I just needed to sketch it in a way I like or try to make it look good. And it was fun because I love environments and landscape and discovering places. So it was fun to just choose the random place and try to make the most of that view with the markers. And I don't know, I just felt good about it.
Yeah, I can imagine this is quite a relaxing thing to do. I think the other awesome thing as well is about Map Crunch is you get to see all this like not only amazing places to visit, but all these like different kinds of architecture as well. Like they've got this house. They've got this house from the Czech Republic. I can't pronounce that. Krybska.
Yeah. Czech Republic.
In Czech Republic. Sorry, people from Czech Republic. I can't pronounce it. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure how.
Well, yeah, like loads of different things like industrial stuff, and really nice. I actually remember doing quite a few like digital painting studies from certain things from like Map Crunch and Google Earth and things like that. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think I really enjoy doing those things, but sometimes, well, the previous years I never finished because I had the pressure that I need to design something good, and I don't know, I'm not that fast generating ideas after work, and usually didn't have lots of time to sketch something, and the pressure of, oh, you are doing this and shit because you are a professional and look at what the crappy sketch you are doing. But then you don't need to think about something cool. You just need to discover great places and just sketch. So well, what I tried to do is just to stick to the random view I got. I only changed and tried to look for another when I had the same kind of view several days in a row. Or I remember a place I really wanted to sketch. There is one from Madrid that I wanted just to sketch to give it to my family, and things like that. But usually the challenge was to stick to the view and get the most of it. Like, don't try to look for an amazing specific place, but just stick to the random view you get and try to make it interesting. Or to find the interesting point of it. So. Yeah,
I think as well you said it's quite difficult to design after you've been designing all day. And
Yeah.
I think for people, just getting started, when you have to think all day about design problems and trying to solve the design problems, your brain's super tired by the end of the day. So,
Yeah, and I always
and you
feel
got,
very, very guilty because usually the artist is like, oh, I'm all day sketching and I'm doing other things and I am sketching and generating things, but I don't work like that. At some point, I just tired. I don't keep generating ideas.
Yeah, exactly the same. We get like later on in the evening, coming up with like new things and how things work. Oh man, it's like an upward hill struggle. It's a challenge. So yeah, no, I completely agree. I think relaxing.
Yeah, also because you have the idea that it has to make sense. It has to be good and be great because look, you're a working artist. But no, that took the pressure off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely solid thing to do. Great way to end the day as well, and it's also practice. So it's a win-win.
Also to discover places, and if you cannot travel all you want or anything like that, you miss it less. It's like, oh, look, that place.
That's it. Actually, there is one last. There's a last question that I have. So, have you actually travelled to any of these places then? And are you planning on travelling anywhere new this year?
To these places, I've been, well, Madrid, obviously, and I've been to Iceland. There are a couple of shots from Iceland, and I really love Iceland. It was the best trip ever.
Yeah, really interesting landscape. It's been used in quite a few films. I think Prometheus was shot in Iceland.
Yeah. And it's totally different to anything you can find, and you get the pictures, and it's nice, but being there is like, oh my god, this is even nicer. Usually, you get pictures, and they are better usually than the place itself, because usually the place itself have uglier parts, but Iceland no. Iceland is amazing, all of it. So I really miss that trip and going there. I'm really looking forward to come back to traveling, because I haven't traveled since before the pandemic.
Yeah, it's been really difficult.
Yeah, but and the thing is, I also went through the process of purchasing a house that was super long, almost a year, and you never know really when it will end. So you are not making plans, because you need to do renovations, and then the renovations take forever because of Brexit and lack of staff and things like that, and it's like, oh, it was never ending. Also, we got a dog, and it's 1 year and a half.
No, right. What kind of dog is that?
It's a whippet.
A whippet?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's there looking at me.
Yeah.
And the thing is more difficult to travel when you have a dog, because we don't have lots of people here around to leave him with him.
So they need a good run as well, though. They're quite agile, quite fast.
Yeah, so it's not the same, because maybe you can live a couple of days or some days, but it's not like, oh, I have 2 weeks. And sometimes I don't know, we're still recovering from the pandemic and the house purchase, and then we need to figure out what to do with him, or how to travel with him. It would be nice, but planes are impossible with them.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. I don't actually know. It's quite expensive to take your animal. Say if you want to visit the family in Spain, you have to take your dog. I guess you have to pay quite a bit of money to get the dog.
No, it's impossible, because it's 13 kilograms, so you need to you cannot bring him in the cabin. And apart from that, is with the new rules from the Brexit, I don't know, there are companies that let you travel to Spain but not come back from Spain, so it's very weird. It's impossible. So maybe driving at some point, but
it's got to be a long
but you cannot go to Iceland again, for example. Or you just need more planning. And probably by the end of this year, I want to go somewhere, at least some days, to the beach. I'm missing the beach a lot, because I used to go in the summer always. And
I'm going to say that I think the beaches back in Spain are a bit nicer than Bridlington or Scarborough or any of the ones that we have here. Mind just saying that, I actually went to Brighton a couple of years back, and that was
how is it?
Well, it's obviously it's an interesting place, but it's actually the architecture that I really like. They've got they've got a building just by the beachfront. It's this huge part. People live there, going to kill them. It's really famous and well known. I've forgotten the name. It's a huge like Oriental looking building. No, the name just escapes. But anyway, but it's a huge thing by the beach, and it's like really Asian Oriental inspired structure. And it's just a really, really good, interesting place for architecture. Obviously, being by the beach,
Okay.
It's nice, cool place to visit. Lots of like art shops.
I take note.
Things like that. Yeah, definitely go. Like I said, definitely go to spend like a day wandering around and just checking the place out. Like I said, there's a huge area that I've walked through. It's just like all art bookshops and small like little shops and things. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
but I think traveling is a very important and nice source of inspiration for people, especially that works in environments. And I notice I'm missing that more. I go more to films or documentaries or things like that. But of course, it's not the same as being there and feeling the things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And sadly, because of COVID, shut everything down. I really want to visit like Japan and India for just the longest time ever.
Yeah.
And sadly, India especially was hit really hard with COVID. And
we have Japan pending, of course.
Yeah, Japan.
Now
I think Japan might start. I think it's starting to open up.
Yeah,
I think it's starting to open up again. So my art director and a couple of members of the team have actually just gone there for work. So I'll have to check out what the rules are.
Yeah, hopefully by next year it's more normal.
Yeah, fingers crossed things are starting to open back up. But anyway, it's been absolutely awesome chatting through and going through your work.
Nice.
Yeah, by the way, do you have any parting words? In fact, I know we just mentioned before we started, I was just going to ask you a couple more questions. So I was just going to ask you, so if you could go back to when you were first starting out, would you give yourself any advice? Or is there anything that you would do differently?
Well, with the resources I have, because I started working 8 years ago, but trying to learn things. I studied a 5 years degree, so imagine like maybe 15 years, and there weren't the things that there are nowadays available. But I don't know. I think just patience and because I've been seeing that things come at the right time if you keep working and showing your work and pursuing your real interest. Don't try to impress specific clients or things. Of course, do useful work. I mean, try to post the progress shots of your work, not just the final image, but how you work, the phases you go through, the sketches, things like that. But don't try to imitate too much companies or people. Sometimes it can work, but I don't know, just do the work you like to do, or try the things you like, because then usually opportunities that match with that comes to you. Of course, I've been working as a freelance more than in-house. I work in-house only 10 months, I think.
Oh, wow,
that was it. Then I became freelance. So, but yeah, I remember at the beginning I was very worried about getting clients and how can I contact them, and I just discovered that I got more clients just working on the things I like and posting them.
Yeah, that's
similar projects. Yeah, most of the work you see in ArtStation, they are people that come to me, and actually some things that I try to contact and they ignore me with time. They came, so it's like.
That's interesting. It's interesting that you say that rather than copy, say, an existing IP or games. I feel like a lot of people that say, "Oh, they want to work for this studio, or they want to work on this particular film," and so they really try and just copy those kind of designs. And so it's interesting to hear that your advice is the opposite of do designs that you really like to do.
Of course, if there is very specific company that you really love, and you really, really like to work specifically there, maybe you can consider the project. For example, if you like environment concept art and you like, I don't know, Uncharted.
Whatever. Yeah, that was.
Then you can try to design a totally new area. of that game.
Yeah.
Like create an environment that is not there. Instead of trying to do fan art or things very similar to what is there, try to think of something very different, but try to design it for that game. Like if they came and asked you to create a whole new level or something like that, maybe if you want to apply it to a specific company, but usually I just try to do things because I like different things, so I just do the things I'm interested in the moment and post them.
Yeah, I think that's actually really solid advice though. If you are really interested in a game company, like maybe look at the level that they designed and design an additional level that fits within that world, but it's not an exact copy. So maybe the level, exactly. So maybe the level that you designed could fit in that universe, but it's just not. Yeah, but you haven't just copied a concept art piece or whatever. So I think that's really good advice,
for tutorials, for example, I usually see. I know which tutorial they follow sometimes because they instead of trying to use the technique on something they want to create or on their idea, they try to do the same. For example, if you follow a JAMA tutorial, don't do an astronaut or a dinosaur. Just apply the same techniques to your subject or to a totally different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really solid. I know exactly what you mean, and we've all followed, these tutorials. And I think sometimes it's best just to take whatever the design is in that tutorial and just push it further, or just add something to it, or just add, just add your own twist or something onto it, so it doesn't look exactly like the same design from those tutorials. Because I know exactly what you mean with that. I actually followed along to a tutorial just to learn Grasshopper in Rhino, but I completely changed the environment that it sits in. But I did the exact same thing. But yeah, that's awesome. So I think that covers all the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any last maybe parting words for people breaking in, or just do you have any last things you want to say, or?
No, I guess I will think of more things for the talk in the event, because I want always to put a part of the presentation to that. But no, just patient and try to do what you like and bring your own ideas, because now before it was difficult because we didn't have so much information around to learn, but the level was lower. But now we have a lot of information and a lot of people with good techniques and things like that. But at the end, what usually companies like is your vision, your designs. So sometimes you don't need, you need to be correct technically, and the better, but just try to be original or design with sense and add your own storytelling to things.
Yeah, very important.
Because it's what makes the artwork different. You go to ArtStation and you get lots and lots of fantastic, perfect, technically works, but sometimes they are very similar. Yeah. And at the end, what catches your eye is something that is different. So maybe more focus on that, on experience things and get things from life and apply to your art instead of being perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the whip. See in my camera.
Awesome.
Okay. That's
Great.
it.
Awesome. Okay. All right then. So I'll just I'll show you now then. So thank you for coming on and just talking through your portfolio. It's been absolutely amazing, like going through all the different kind of projects you've worked on, design styles, and also just to give like real insight into just how much stuff there is in game production, all the sketches, just all the call outs, because it's very often it's not seen, and there's a lot of focus put on the more polished stuff and less on all the production stuff that you have in your portfolio. And I think it's just been really interesting to see all of that today. So that's been absolutely awesome. Okay, so
thanks for the opportunity, and I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, I think it's good to ramble and go off on side tangents and all that stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of I'm sure you get a few people like asking you questions and things. But if you guys want to come down and listen to Marina give a presentation and going into much more detail than we have today, you can come listen to her give a presentation on this Sunday, the 7th of August this year, And if you just want to scroll down on gfdnorth.uk, you can go grab a link to our ArtStation page that we've just been over today. And there'll also be a link in the notes on YouTube. I'll also add a link to MapCrunch and just maybe a couple of other things that we've mentioned. So you can go listen to her on the Sunday, the 7th of August, and I'll also be posting a link to this in the podcast section where you can listen to the other episodes now with other guests. And if you want to get notified of when tickets will be available to the public, you can go to the sign up page and enter your details there. And that just about wraps it up. So thank you again, Marina, for coming on.
Oh, thanks to you.
Yeah, thank you.
For organizing everything.
Yeah,
See you.
Okay, all right. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.